if you're watching this, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. And honestly, what I'm probably doing is lounging around my house reading books. At least that's what past me is gonna hope for. Well, I should say that's what present me is hoping for future me. And let's hope that future me appreciates past me for setting that into motion. Hello, welcome to the realm of kidlit comics. We're here what are we here to do? Discuss everything that is kidlit in comics. And I have been doing a lot more graphic novel manga comic content this month, specifically because it's 30 and 30. We're not going to talk about where I'm at for 30 and 30. We're going to talk about that vlog at the end of the month, which was supposed to be a 4-part vlog. But you know what? Life be lifing. And I've been reading quite a bit, but it is, birthday season for us, so things get a little crazy around this household. So I wanted to do a discussion video because I don't feel like I've done a discussion video in a while. That's not true. I did 2 discussion videos last month. Oh my gosh. Not me getting on camera and lying in 4K. But I haven't done a discussion video this month, and I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to have this discussion once more. And I want to have this discussion again. I've had this discussion before. I can't remember whether I've done this on this channel though. Knowing me, I know that I have. But because we like to revisit things around these parts and we like to remind people of certain things, I saw a conversation happening on Threads where a fellow librarian was telling people, and it wasn't necessarily like this big conversation or like this big thing, but essentially what they were saying on their thread was that as a librarian, I'm telling all parents and caregivers, like, let your kids read those graphic novels, right? And I absolutely adore that because, believe it or not, the conversation around graphic novels, or like the importance of graphic novels or the validity of graphic novels, is not something that simply happens in the bookish spaces, right? As a librarian, I too have come across conversations where parents and caregivers are kind of nervous about providing their kids with graphic novels because for so long they haven't been deemed like real literature. They haven't been deemed quality literature, and it's not quote unquote real reading. And that's graphic novels, comics, manga. And not surprisingly, that kind of mentality transfers over to the bookish community, right? Where people are saying things like, oh, well, you read a lot in here because you read a lot of graphic novels or comics, or you read a lot of manga, as if that point of literature, or that form of literature, I should say, is not as valid as other forms. Now, will it take you a shorter amount of time to read a graphic novel, comic, or manga? It depends. It depends on what it is. It depends on the length. It depends on the amount of text that are within some of these. So it's easy to write these things off as being very simplistic in nature, as not being as quality as prose or even books written in verse. And they're just books with pictures and they're so easy to read. But I'm here to explain to you why comics, graphic novels, and manga are valid forms of literature and the ways that they really do help readers. So let's talk about the number one thing that I always point out to people, because I've actually recently encountered a lot more people who are unable to read comics and graphic novels and manga, right? It helps with your reading comprehension. It is a very specific skill to be able to process both pictures and text in tandem. And I don't think that people give that skill set enough credit. There are people I know who literally cannot read graphic novels, comics, or manga simply because they end up focusing on one over the other, and their brain can't combine the two to take the story in totality, right? That is a skill set that becomes developed over time when you're continuously reading this form of literature. It is not something that everyone is capable of just doing. And I don't know where we got into this space that it was just an automatic skill set. For some people, it may come second nature, but for others, it is a skill set that you really, really, truly have to work with. And so it gives you a different level of reading comprehension that you may not, or I should say not different level, but it gives you a different type of reading comprehension that you may not necessarily need when you're just reading a prose book. Graphic novels, comics, and manga also help with critical thinking, right? I think that one of the most interesting things that can happen in graphic novels, comics, and manga is that you can get these images. And I look at this like the critical thinking skills that come from looking simply at an image and being able to discern what the creator was going for in that conversation between the writer and the illustrator, or maybe the writer and the illustrator are the same individuals. But when you just get a full panel of art with no text, you have to be able to use those critical thinking skills to be able to inference, like, what exactly is happening right now? What story is the creator attempting to tell through this artwork? What key things are being shown in this artwork that will give me a better understanding of where the story is going to go? And those are key parts of critical thinking. Being able to make an inference is something that, well, critical thinking in the United States at this point is like non-existent. Like, it's not a skill that we build anymore. And I think that graphic novels, comics, and manga really do assist in developing that skill. My biggest thing with this format is that it encourages reluctant readers, y'all. When I tell you, oh my goodness, right now, I think is the height in my career, like it's the height of reluctant readers for me that I've been seeing. I think when I first started almost 10 years ago at this point in my field, I dealt with reluctant readers, right? But the volume of reluctant readers that I am encountering now, the amount of reluctant readers that I hear about is on the rise. And a lot of what we are seeing, we are attributing to what happened during lockdown and the pandemic. There's this wave of kids where there's this gap in their literacy skills. We're also seeing the impact of attention spans, right? Kids that are growing up right now are having a more difficult time with their attention span. They have a difficult time being able to focus on one thing for a specific amount of time. And so as a result, what we were seeing is that your typical middle grade books that would come out, let me use one as an example. These are all horrible examples, by the way. And of course I wouldn't have, well, I just use this, right? This is City of the Plague God, right? This book came out probably in the early 2000s. Yeah, 2020s meaning. This came out in 2021, right? This is a year into the pandemic, but books like this would fly off the shelf. And it's not to say that kids don't still read books like this, right? And when I say books like this, I mean books, nothing like full of text. That used to be the thing. That used to be easy to sell those books, to just hand them out like hotcakes. It is so difficult to get a kid to pick those books up now. We are seeing a decrease in the ability of kids to sit down and read a book of this length with this much text. We're seeing a lot of more kids who are more likely to pick up a book that's written in verse, or more likely to pick up a book that has illustrations in it, And then also, as a result, we're seeing a lot more kids gravitate towards graphic novels. We are seeing publishers respond to the increased interest in graphic novels by adapting more works into graphic novel format, or trying to put out a lot more, trying new things like Scholastic. Now their graphic novel imprint graphics now puts out Manga, which was not a thing that happened before. We're seeing specific publishers come out with graphic novel imprints that are specifically for teens. We did not see a lot of that previously before, and so we're seeing this matching of what's happening in literacy, from publishers, from artists, from creators. They're meeting them with graphic novels. Graphic novels are an easy sell now. You have graphic novels on a display and kids gravitate towards them. What's the latest graphic novel? They sell like hotcakes, really, honestly. It is, especially with the more popular graphic novel series, they are really, really hard to keep on the shelf. And so where we didn't see, where I personally didn't see as much in terms as reluctant readership, I see a lot more now, and graphic novels become that gap to build that confident reader, right? Not saying that graphic novels are only for reluctant readers, but they're a great tool for reluctant readers. And they are just as valuable as this book. No more, no less, but I think they are the equivalent in being able to tell a story, and for kids to be able to learn from them. Kids are still able to build empathy. They're still able to see themselves. They are still able to get a better understanding of the world around them. So that is a huge thing for me. And I used to say that in the past, like pre-pandemic, that graphic novels were good for reluctant readers. Like, I'll never forget the time that I had a mom come in with her son, and she was like, I am struggling to get him to read, and I was just asking, like, well, what are you interested in? And he immediately gravitated toward the graphic novels. He's like, well, I don't want to read those. No, he didn't say that. She said, I don't want him to read those. Those are not real books. And I had to have a conversation with her about the fact that actually those are in fact real books. They're valid forms of literature, and if this is what he's interested in reading, if it's getting him excited about reading, let him read those books. I know that can be super hard as a parent or a caregiver, like having to shift that mindset and recognize that something that we have so regularly been told is, childish, is not quality literature. Having to shift your mind over to saying, like, if my child is interested in reading these, like, my child is interested in reading, and that is just as valid, that is just as important. Speaking of just the support that graphic novels can provide, I think they're also a really good resource for English as a second language. Like, you have your ESL learners, and I think that they're also a great tool. And not just, and I say ESL, but honestly, I think that it's good for anyone who's interested in studying a language outside of their own. Because I've read some graphic novels that have had, primarily, I think the ones that I have read have had Spanish in them, and it's not translated. And I think that that's really important because it is pushing me to be able to use those context clues and to really immerse myself into someone else's cultural experience. Not just looking at the characters, but also being immersed in the language. So if you ever have anyone say to you, or if you've ever had anyone who has made you believe that graphic novels don't count, they're not real books, they're not as complex, they don't provide you with the same skill set for critical thinking, they're not as quality literature, I'm here to tell you, like, if you've ever heard those things, whoever told you those things is absolutely wrong. They provide the same things that you can get from a book written in prose or a book written in verse. It is just a different form of literature. And like I've said before, as someone like me who has aphantasia and cannot really process what they're reading in a visual way, because there are people who see what they're reading. Their brain is able to show them those images. For me, it doesn't work the same way. Whenever I'm reading something, it's almost like I'm looking out of my peripheral vision. So I can kind of see it, but not clearly. I have kind of a fuzzy idea of what is going on. Graphic novels provide me that visual landscape that I wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. And that's why I gravitate towards them so much, because I get to see something in so much clarity and totality in a way that I wouldn't be able to do so. And that's probably why there is this huge part of me that gravitates towards graphic novels, outside of the fact that I think the storytelling is amazing. The concepts are great. The way that my mind is often challenged when I'm reading graphic novels, comics, and manga. But I think I know in my heart to hearts, like, I'm one of those people where I don't get that same experience as everyone else. And so being able to just see those small moments on page where I can't see them all the time, it's a life-changing experience. I know that seems dramatic, but I can't explain to you how frustrating it can be to read a book sometimes and you want to see what everyone else is seeing, and it's hard. It's like straining your eyes to do so. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that your decision to read graphic novels, manga, and comics is a good one, right? Off the top, it's a good one, and they're valid, they're real. And if you're a parent or caregiver that's ever been hesitant or nervous about your little one reading graphic novels, comics, or manga, let them do it. Let them read those books. They count. It's okay. They will get the same skills as their peers. It's okay if that's all they want to read, they want to read. And that's what's most important. So, not necessarily a long video, but just something that I kind of wanted to tap into and get off my chest. I just saw that thread and I was like, thank you. Like, I love seeing that where people are saying, like, don't steer them away from it, right? Don't steer them away from graphic novels. They're valid. They are valid. They are real. And if that's what they want to read, let them read it. But anyway, as always, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you ever had like someone tell you that graphic novels aren't valid? Or have you ever felt any type of shame for the amount of graphic novels or comics or manga that you read? As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking for ways to support the channel or follow me on social media, all those links will be down in the description box below. And I will be back with another video soon. Bye!